The first words hit like a slap in a silent room. "Sir, that seat's not for civilians." Faulkner Air Terminal vibrated with the low thunder of departing aircraft turbines whining. Boots thudding, voices echoing over the intercom. The air smelled of jet fuel, sweat, and the static tension that lives in places where people are always leaving. Chief Master Sergeant Daniel Hawke, 8 Mercer, retired. Sat alone in a corner chair marked Priority Seating, Active Duty Only. His flannel shirt was clean but faded. Sleeves rolled past weathered forearms. At his feet rested a duffel bag older than most of the recruits in the terminal. Colonel Stephen Hale stopped in front of him, posture rigid, uniform immaculate. His tone carried authority sharpened by ego. "This area is reserved for personnel on orders," he said, "not retirees on nostalgia tours." Mercer looked up slowly, eyes calm, voice steady. Didn't see a sign. He said. The colonel smirked. "You see it now. Let's have your ID." Mercer handed over a laminated card, corners frayed. Photo faded. Hale snatched it without thanks. "Chief Master Sergeant Daniel Mercer." He read aloud. "Retired." He let the word hang like an insult. "You must have wandered in here by mistake." "Chief, these people are heading into combat. You've already had your turn." A few airmen nearby shifted uncomfortably. Airman Miguel Santos stood frozen, a water bottle half raised in his hand. No one dared to interfere. Mercer exhaled softly. "Then I'll stand." He pushed himself up, slow but deliberate, the quiet groan of his knees almost rhythmic against the terminal hum. A thin ray of afternoon light glinted off the edge of his dog tag, tarnished, but still there. Hale stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Your generation thinks a few ribbons make you saints. The rest of us have to clean up the legends you left behind." Mercer said nothing. His silence held more gravity than the colonel's rank ever could. Then the PA system crackled overhead. "Attention C-17 Globemaster 3, now boarding for forward deployment." Both men turned toward the massive window. Outside, the aircraft gleamed in the sunlight, engines roaring. But Mercer wasn't looking at the plane. His eyes had gone distant, seeing something beyond the present. In the glass reflection, a shape shimmered, the ghost of a C-130 Hercules, one wing ablaze, descending through smoke. Mercer's jaw tightened. His hand found the strap of his duffel bag. The past wasn't done with him yet. Where are you watching from? Drop your city below. Subscribe to Stories Unseen, real stories of courage, silence, and honor. Colonel Stephen Hale wasn't finished. The quiet defiance in that old man's eyes had cut deeper than any argument. It wasn't anger that drove him now, it was ego, bruised in front of his own men. He followed Mercer as the old chief stood near the window, the bright wash of sunlight outlining his still frame. Around them, the terminal's background noise dimmed. Conversations fell away, replaced by the hum of turbines and tension. Hale folded his arms. "You know, your generation had it easy. Slow wars, simple enemies, no satellites, no real-time feeds, no chaos like we deal with now. You probably think the Air Force still runs on myth and memory." Mercer didn't turn. "War's never simple," he said, "just noisy in different ways." The colonel's jaw flexed. "You served." "Sure, everyone serves. Doesn't make you special." Still no reaction. The old man might as well have been carved from stone. That calm, that unshakable calm, only made it worse. Hale stepped closer, lowering his voice to a sneer. "Tell me something. Chief, what did you do back then? Fix radios, push papers while real men flew missions?" Mercer finally looked at him. The quiet in his eyes was sharp, cutting through the colonel's noise. "I served." he repeated simply. That was it. No defense, no explanation, just two words that somehow carried more gravity than Hale's entire uniform. The colonel laughed, a harsh, brittle sound that echoed off the walls. You people and your cryptic answers, always hiding behind old glory. You think the world owes you for something you did half a century ago. Newsflash, it doesn't. Across the room, Airman Miguel Santos shifted, fists clenched at his sides. Even Master Sergeant Aaron Cole had stopped typing at his desk, eyes flicking toward the confrontation. The air felt heavy, stretched thin like the second before a detonation. Hale leaned in until his voice was almost a whisper. You know what every pilot worth his wings has a call sign, a name that means something. So what was yours? Chief, I bet it was cute. Maybe Dusty 1 or Mailman 6. Let's hear it. For a moment, nothing moved. Then Mercer's hand tightened on the strap of his duffel. His gaze shifted past Hale, past the terminal, toward the wide glass wall where the C-17 Globemaster idled on the runway. In its reflection, something flickered the faint outline of another aircraft. Scarred, smoking, ancient, a memory buried too deep to die. Mercer's voice broke the silence. Calm, but weighted like thunder before a storm. You really want to know? Hale smirked, already certain of his victory. Enlighten me. Mercer turned fully, the years momentarily falling away from his face. His answer came soft, almost too soft to hear. Hawk 8. The word hung in the air, and somewhere in the crowd. A coffee cup slipped from someone's hand and shattered against the floor. The sound of the shattered mug hit harder than any gunshot. Every conversation in the terminal died in an instant. Even the engines outside seemed to hush. The only thing moving was the thin curl of steam rising from the broken coffee on the tile. Colonel Stephen Hale blinked, confused. What did you say? The old man didn't repeat himself. He didn't have to. The name Hawk 8 hung in the air like a ghost that everyone suddenly remembered they feared. Across the room, Master Sergeant Aaron Cole froze mid-step, his weathered face drained of color. Then, without hesitation, he straightened his back and moved forward, each step deliberate, precise. He stopped 2 feet from Mercer and snapped into the sharpest salute anyone in that terminal had ever seen. Sir, he said, voice trembling but proud. Master Sergeant Aaron Cole, 3rd Special Tactics Squadron. It's an honor, an absolute honor. The sound of boots scuffing echoed around them. A few older contractors lowered their newspapers, staring. A pair of Marines near the security gate stopped talking. One of them whispered, Hawk 8. That can't be him. Hale looked from Cole to Mercer, then back again, irritation rising. What's going on here? You're saluting a retired civilian. Sergeant, drop it, now. Cole didn't move. His hand stayed firm at his brow, eyes locked on Mercer, with respect. Sir, I'm not saluting a civilian. Hale's voice rose. Then who the hell are you saluting? Cole lowered his hand, his jaw tightening. A ghost. Sir, one we were told never existed. The words hit like a detonation. Hale blinked, caught between disbelief and confusion. What the hell are you talking about? Cole took a step back, as if realizing he'd said too much. Sir, He was cut off by a sudden murmur rippling through the terminal. The crowd was shifting, heads turning toward the entrance. The automatic doors hissed open, and through them stepped General Marcus L. Hayes, commander of U.S. Air Forces in Europe. The atmosphere shifted again colder, heavier. Even Hale straightened instinctively. The general's boots echoed against the floor as he approached, eyes sweeping the room. Colonel Hale, he barked. What's the meaning of this circus? Sir, Hale began. A misunderstanding. This man. But Hayes wasn't listening. His eyes had found Mercer. The storm in his expression broke apart, replaced by something Hale had never seen on the face of a four-star general: shock, then reverence. Dan Hayes's voice cracked. "My God, it's really you." A ripple of whispers moved through the onlookers. The tension shifted from confrontation to awe, like the air itself understood who was standing there. Mercer didn't smile. He simply gave a small nod, eyes steady, voice low. "It's been a long time." "Marcus." General Hayes stepped forward, posture rigid, and rendered a salute so crisp it silenced the room. And for the first time that day, Colonel Hale felt something strange creeping into his chest. Not anger, not confusion, but a dawning, cold realization that he might have just humiliated a man whose name the military had once erased to protect. The general held his salute a moment longer, then dropped it slowly. "Gentlemen," he said, turning toward Hale, "you're about to learn what the name Hawk 8 really means." The terminal seemed to exhale a collective breath of awe and fear. And Hale, he finally understood that the story wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The first thing to break the silence wasn't a voice, it was the sound of a salute. A four-star general, arm raised, eyes locked on a man everyone else had dismissed. General Marcus L. Hayes stood firm before Daniel Hawk, Scout Mercer, his expression a mix of disbelief and reverence. Around them, the terminal seemed frozen in amber soldiers. Civilians, officers, all caught in a moment they couldn't comprehend. Sam Hayes stopped himself. "Dan, I thought you were gone." Mercer's reply came quiet, steady. "I was, for a while." Colonel Stephen Hale, standing rigid beside them, looked like a man whose world had just collapsed under its own arrogance. "General." With respect, he started, but Hayes raised a hand, silencing him without a glance. "You have no idea who you are talking to." "Colonel," the general said, voice low, but edged like a blade. Then he turned to the room, and when Hayes spoke again, it was the tone of command that had carried men through wars. "You all know stories, legends about pilots who flew missions no one could prove, about Black Ops units that never existed on paper. One of them was Project Nightwing." The name hit like static through the air. Whispers spread. Even younger airmen recognized it, the whispers that echoed through hangars. The ghost stories told after midnight. Hayes continued, pacing slowly as he spoke. Late 60s, a modified C-130 Hercules built for high-risk extractions. No insignia, no flight logs. Their mission was to fly into places no map dared mark. He pointed toward Mercer. He was their lead pilot. Hale's throat worked. "Sir, that's impossible. That program was buried." Hayes finished sharply. "Because the things they did would have ignited wars." The general's voice lowered, almost reverent. "Hawk 8 flew into a valley we called the Devil's Jaw, a stretch of jungle so heavily defended that even satellites avoided it. A Green Beret team was trapped. No air cover, no hope. He went in anyway. Landed a burning C-130 on a dirt strip smaller than a football field, under anti-air fire. Loaded every man alive. Flew them home through the storm. The terminal was silent except for the distant whine of engines. Hayes's gaze softened. 2 years later, he was shot down, declared missing, spent 4 years in a POW camp no one could admit existed. The Air Force gave his family a flag and a folded piece of paper. Then one day, he came home. Mercer looked down. Home's a word that changes meaning after that. Hayes stepped closer. "You gave this country everything, Dan, and you asked for nothing." Mercer's voice was faint but firm. "I didn't do it for thanks." Hale, pale and motionless, finally whispered, "My God." The general turned on him, tone cold enough to cut through steel. "No, Colonel, not yours. His." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Hayes looked back at Mercer and said quietly, "Let's get you some food, old friend." As they turned to leave, Hale stood rooted in place, the echoes of his own words haunting him. Behind the glass, a C-17 Globemaster roared to life on the runway, its engines howling like ghosts waking from sleep. And somewhere deep inside Colonel Hale, something began to break. Cinematic military, short stories, unseen style. The night settled heavy over Faulkner Air Terminal. The crowds were gone. The echo of boots long faded. A single light burned inside the VIP quarters, a quiet room with the hum of an old heater and the faint scent of jet fuel that never really left the air. Daniel Hawke. Mercer sat by the window, hands wrapped around a mug of untouched coffee. Outside, runway lights blinked against the dark, leading toward a horizon only men like him truly understood. There was a knock, a hesitant, human sound. The door opened, and Colonel Stephen Hale stepped in. The confidence that once filled his frame had vanished. His uniform was immaculate, but he looked smaller inside it, humbled, frayed around the edges. He held his flight cap in both hands like it might anchor him. "Sir," his voice cracked on the word, "may I have a moment?" Mercer didn't answer, just nodded to the empty chair. Hale stayed standing. "I owe you an apology," the colonel began. "What I did out there, it was arrogance, ignorance. I thought I understood what service meant. But today, I realized I've only been wearing the word, not living it." The silence between them was thick, but not cruel. Mercer finally looked up, his gaze softer than the colonel deserved. "We all have days that test what we're made of," he said quietly. "It's what you do after you fail that tells the truth." Hale's throat tightened. "I don't deserve forgiveness." Mercer rose slowly, the old strength still in his posture. "Maybe not," he said. "But you do deserve the chance to earn it." He stepped forward, laid a hand on the younger man's shoulder, a gesture heavy with something deeper than rank. "Be the kind of leader your people remember when you're not in the room. That's all any of us ever really leave behind." Hale blinked hard, fighting back the sting in his eyes. He straightened, brought his hand to his brow, and rendered a perfect salute. Not out of duty this time, out of respect. Mercer returned it, slow and steady, at ease. "Colonel," he said softly. When Hale left, the old airman turned back to the window. A C-17 Globemaster lifted into the night sky, its lights cutting across the darkness. The reflection shimmered over Mercer's face, and for a heartbeat, the man who once flew through hell looked 20 years younger. He smiled faintly, whispering to no one, "The greatest heroes are the ones who never ask to be remembered." The engines faded into silence, leaving only the hum of the bass and the quiet dignity of a man who had already given everything.